Alright, so yesterday we have gone through the concept of the organizational structure. कल हमने देखा था organizational structure. What is that? This is a formal structure of a business that shows the way in which management is organized and linked together. तो ये हमने कल बात की थी. Then we have discussed about the factors that influence the change in the organization structure. कुछ factors को हमने देखा था. Then we had discussed about the functional organizational structures, जहाँ पर when the people are grouped on the basis of their functions mostly, that is the developing team, marketing team, sales representative teams. So we divide the people on the basis of their functions. Then we have gone through the advantages and disadvantages of the functional organizational structure. Advantages क्या थे? For instance, you may get a question, analyze the possible advantages of a functional organizational structure. Yeah, evaluate whether the functional organizational structure is a good uh, organizational structure. It is going to be helpful for this certain type of business, so a nature can be given. So obviously in evaluation you will have to give points in favor, points against, and then give your solution to the problems, so it will be helpful for you in that case. Then we discussed about the hierarchical organizational structure. Hierarchical में हमने देखा it's you can say it's a conventional form of organization structure. Most of the developing countries like Pakistan, most of the businesses follow such type of organization structure because chain of command is clear, span of control is clear, all of these three elements are clear in it. Then we discussed about the advantages and disadvantages yesterday about the hierarchical organization structure. We discussed that functional versus the hierarchical. In hierarchical we can divide that in the basis of regions, whereas in functional we cannot divide them in the regions, so all of the functions are going to be applied on the whole of the regions mostly. Then today we will be going towards the two major forms of the hierarchical organizational structure. So hierarchical structure can be divided in two major categories. The first one is the flat organization, the second one is the tall organization. So what is a flat organization? Yeah, wide organization is also the word which we use for this. So in flat organization, as you can see in the picture, what's happening over there is one person is having more than 5 or approximately 5 people under the command of that particular person. So the span of control in the flat organization is going to be more as compared to the tall organization structure. So in hierarchical organization structure, the span of control is wider when it comes to the flat organizations, and when it comes to the tall organization, the span of control will be less, lekin there would be more layers in an organization. So what would be the advantages? The first one, in the flat organization, delegation is increased and there is less direct control of the boss. So यहाँ पर एक चीज़ नज़र आ रही है कि apparently it seems like a boss is going to manage 5 people, there is going to be more supervision, there is going to be more control on the employees, but ऐसा नहीं है. Actually ये हो रहा है कि there is going to be more delegation in an organization. So what do you mean by delegation? That this person who is at the top, since the span of control is wider, in that case the person is going to get more tasks, obviously, since he has got more people under him or her. So in that case there would be a greater span of control, there would be a greater delegation as well. So जब span of control high होता है तो delegation भी high होती है normally. So he is going to delegate some of his tasks to Mr. A or Miss A, and then some of the tasks to Mr. B and Miss B. So there would be more delegation in this case. When the span of control is less, in that case there is less delegation because the manager or the boss do not want to delegate most of the tasks to the subordinate, since there is a chance of promotion for that subordinate and the subordinate may replace the position of the boss. So that kind of political element or diplomatic element is already there in an organization. Second, employee empowerment, which leads towards increased motivation. So when a flat organization structure is there, since we said that more delegation means more empowerment. More empowerment means that there are greater chances that a person will learn more things in an organization. Third, short chain of command that leads towards better communication. So layers are less. When the span of control is wider, so the number of layers are going to be less in an organization. So layers mean the horizontal layers. So when we're going to compare this flat organization with the tall, you will see that there would be more layers in a tall organizational structure. So in this case, in a flat organization, since there are less layers, so there is a better communication between the top tier management towards the employee at the first level of hierarchies. Then less business costs as fewer middle managers are required. So we don't have supervisors, we don't have senior supervisors, we don't have assistant managers, we directly managers are dealing with the employees mostly. So in that case, there would be lesser middle management costs. For example, in a school, there is a concept of, some of the schools are having the concept of a principal. Then under a principal, we have got section heads. Then under the section heads, we have got coordinators. And then under the coordinators, we have got HODs, that a subject specialist, and then the teachers. So when we see that this, it's kind of a tall organization structure, especially when the number of teachers are less. So this is suitable when the number of teachers are approximately 100 to 150. In that case, we can say that yes, we are dividing the school into, or college into multiple categories. The coordinator for the junior section, the coordinator for the IGCSEs, and then we have got the coordinator for the A levels. Maybe in that case, that is going to be workable, since we have got more than approximately 70, 80 to 100 teachers. But once in an organization, we have got like 10 to 15 or 20 teachers max. So on this, we can easily be, these can easily be managed by one section head or maximum one coordinator. We don't need more than that. So in some of the organizations, we say that if middle managers are more, obviously it is going to increase the costs of the business. So if the span of control is normally 5 to 10, can easily be managed by one person. In the case of the teacher, since the task is repetitive in nature and we don't have to supervise them all the time, so in that case 20 to 25 teachers can be easily managed by one person, generally saying. So when we see more and more middle managers coming in, like the academic coordinators, sports coordinators, then we have got the admin coordinator, then we have got the coordinator to the IGCSE, then we've got the coordinator to the A level. So there are going to be multiple coordinators, some of the organizations which we normally see. So in one case, we can say that this is kind of a advantage for the section head or for the principal, that burden is going to be reduced. But on the other hand, we say that the cost of the organization is going to be high. So it depends how the things can be managed. In some of the schools, we only see a principal and a section head, and that things are getting managed very easily. The fourth, which is will be done. So let's move on to the disadvantages. That is increased workload. So when the span of control is high, even if we are delegating the task, at the end of the day, we may have to supervise them. At the end of the day, we may have to cross-check them. So in that case, we say that there is going to be increased workload because we have to manage more number of people now. So if number of people are like 3 to 5, that is easily manageable. But if the number of people are 20 to 25 in a normal organization, like in a production sector, so in that case, we may say that there is going to be increased workload. Alright, another disadvantage could be wide span of control makes it hard to manage. So workload is high and managing more number of people is comparatively difficult task. So since everyone comes up with their own tantrums, own style of working, so especially when it comes to when a manager is dealing with assistant managers, because both are on a strategic position and both are managing other people, so there are greater chance of conflict in that case when the span of control is wider. Normally the span of control is wider in a case when we have got a first layer or second layer of the employees. For example, machine operators. We can have like a span of control 15 to 20 very easily. Why? Because the tasks are repetitive. We don't have to supervise them every other day because they are expert in their own fields. Same applies to the teachers. If they are expert in their own fields, we don't need to supervise them that much. So in that case, the span of control, even if it is wider, it would work out. But if we are talking about managers and assistant managers, and in that case, if the span of control is wider, it would create more chaos because the difference of opinion will be there, more and more time will be spent in discussions, and then the workload is going to be increased, and then there is going to be, as I said, greater chances of conflicts at the end of the day. So let's move ahead with this next hierarchical structure, hierarchical की second type, that is a tall organization structure. So before moving at right hand side पे देखें ज़रा, the first thing which you can see is basically यहाँ पर the span of control for the top notch person is 2, previously it was 5. अब since the span of control is less, तो we can say वो जो burden high था previous case में, वो burden less हो जाएगा. So the disadvantage would become an advantage in this case. Second, the promotion opportunities is going to be more since there is less competition. Delegation तो हो रही है, लेकिन यहाँ पर in cases के अंदर since the competition is less, the people which you can see in kind of are blue can be upgraded to the position of purple and without like threatening the position of the top person. So is this top person can still delegate the task because he or she knows that even somebody is getting promoted, that is going to be below his or her level. So normally we can say kind of diplomacy in organizations work like that. So people are threatened by the positions of their subordinates sometimes. So it normally happens if some subordinate is working very hard and very amazingly well and is very creative, some of the managers start getting threatened about that because they believe that now this person can replace us very easily since that person has got more strengths than us. So there are two types of people then in an organization. The one type of people who admit this thing and try to upgrade themselves, being the managers, learn from their subordinates sometimes, give them an environment which is quite, coordinative and which is quite fruitful, which is quite sophisticated. A learning environment is generated. But there are other type of managers as well. Those who are threatened by this position, they will start giving lesser creative tasks to those subordinates, and they will not let those subordinates come up, even if it is a meeting and even if it is something they have to talk to with the senior management. They don't let them communicate with the senior management. Sometimes that works. So generally saying, in the developing countries, we see the second type of people more, unfortunately. But the first type of people, those who actually absorb this element, that since there is a time for everything, like just like a product life cycle, there is a position life cycle as well. You cannot retain to a position for a longer period of time. You are replaceable. Since you have replaced somebody in the past, obviously after some point of time you must be replaced as well. This is how organizations work. So depends. So in this kind of an organization structure, normally we see that there is less competition, there is less diplomacies involved since the hierarchy is quite longer, the layers are more, the distance between the top manager and the lower managers is quite higher. So in that case there are less diplomacies involved. But in the previous structure, the wider organization structure or flat organization structure we also say, so there is more kind of higher competition, and higher competition means there are higher chances of diplomacy in the organizations as well. So there would be more politics, organizational politics involved in those type of organizations. So tall organizations normally work out better in this case as far as the politics is concerned. Then another advantage, the clear line of control. The line of control is quite clear. Previously it was a wider structure, so 5 people were fighting with each other to get the delegated tasks. Sometimes, since the high level of competition is there, that created a chaos, that created sometimes a miscommunication, a less clarity, that who is going to take up the task of the boss. So who is next to the boss? Even if the boss is absent on some day, who's going to take the charge? So all of those 5 or 6 people are going to fight with each other about this. But in this situation, we know that either Mr. A or Mr. B or Miss A or Miss B is going to take up the charge of this person. So this person directly delegates this Mr. A or Miss B that you are going to be second to me, and then the second priority is for this person. So it's comparatively easier to manage such type of organizations. But disadvantages, since there is no or less delegation involved. So previously there was more delegation. Now this top-notch person will delegate lesser tasks to this, since this person can obviously still swap the position of this person, but this person again is going to delegate less to these 3 people. Why? Because there is again a threat of the promotions. So if a promotion opportunities is less, there is always less delegation. If there is less promotion opportunities, there is a more delegation. So both of these points are used as a pros and cons oppositely. Then ineffective communication can occur since there are more layers in an organization. Staff feel distant from the senior manager. That's what we can see. The people who are working at this third level obviously feel distant from this top tier management, and this middle managers will not let these people communicate directly because that is going to be a bypassing of the communication. Then increased business cost, as we have discussed earlier. So all of the points which are the disadvantages in the tall organization will become an advantages otherwise. So any questions so far? Then let's move ahead with the advantage and disadvantage of overall organization, hierarchical organization structures. Like authorities are clearly defined in this case, effective use of specialist managers, greater loyalty with the department. So overall, when we see the hierarchical organization structure, neither tall nor wider, a general organization structure. So all of these advantages are there, more or less similar to the functional organization structure. But same problems like communication across various sections can be poor, especially the horizontal communication. So the communication between the departments will be poor, obviously in this case, since it's going to be wider most of the times. So slow response rate in dynamic markets, since the structure is quite static in nature, so low response rates are normally seen. If we are going to compare this with the next organization structures, then you will see that this thing become a disadvantage. Departments can make decisions which benefit from rather than business as a whole. So departments are more empowered. So when departments are more empowered, then there is less centralization in an organization. So central decisions are less, since departments are having more say, more influence on the business decisions. And again, this leads towards greater chances of conflicts between the departments as well. So it is just like when provinces in Pakistan are having more authority than the center, which is called as federation. So if provinces are more empowered, there are more chances of conflicts between the provinces. When the provinces are less empowered and federation is more stronger, in that case there would be less chance of conflicts, since the decisions are made by the federation or the center. Same applies to the organizations. If departments get more empowered, there are greater chances of conflicts between the departments. And if the center or the higher tier management beyond the or above the departments are more strong in making the decisions, in that case there will be less chance of conflicts between the departments. So it works both ways. Then a divisional organizational structure. So what is a divisional organization structure? Have a look at the division. So over here it is just opposite to the functional organization structure. In functional organizational structure, we were dividing the structure on the basis of their functions. All of the marketing in all of the regions would be under one department. But over here in divisions, have a look at the picture first. The product division A. What do you mean by division? Division can be a country. For example, Nestle can say that an Asian division, European division, and a US division. So product division A, so if you are offering a product in division A, all of those divisions would have their own functions, own departments like marketing, sales, and services. Similarly, the second division, let's say European Union, are going to have their own marketing, sales, and services departments. Then let's say division C, they will be having their own marketing, sales, and services department. So over here, the focus is on making the divisions first and then the functions. In functional structure, it was functions first, and then under a function there may be a division, and normally we ignore the divisions over there. So in functional organization structure, the division is based on functions. In divisional organization structure, as the name say, the division is based on the divisions or the regions or the areas, we can say that, right? So that is the divisional organization structure. So under the division, we are going to have departments, and the marketing department of division A would not have any link with the marketing department of division B. And why is that case? Because obviously the culture of different divisions are different. For example, if Nestle is marketing in Asian division like India and Pakistan, the strategy of marketing would be entirely different if they are advertising in European Union. So that is the reason. So due to such element of divisions as on the basis of the regions, what we do is we make the departments under the regions or functions under the regions most of the times. So in this case, we can say that when we are dividing on the divisions, the advantage would be it will be able to work under the dynamic environments, or it will be able to work on the cross cultures very easily. That is the case. Then have a look at the advantages and disadvantages of the divisional based structures. Go through these points one by one and let me know if there is any point that requires a discussion